Assalamu alaikum and for humans. How are you doing? Inshallah, you're fantastic. Okay. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about the physiological challenges behind a fat loss, the things that can come up, the challenges that can come up as you're trying to lose body fat, because it's not just your willpower, it's not just you wanting it bad enough, it's not just you wanting to achieve this goal. Is in the process of trying to achieve this goal, your body is going to fight you for it, because the body doesn't like you to lose body fat. It's used to the amount of body fat that you have now. It's a survival thing, right? And the more body fat you lose, the more weight you lose, the harder it's going to be, the harder your body is going to fight. So today I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about the science of fat loss and what you may start to see in your journey as you continue to lose body fat, so that you can prepare for it, so that you can anticipate that it's going to happen. And with anticipation, it comes planning, because if you can anticipate for it, you can plan for it. And the biggest struggle that people face in this journey of trying to lose body fat is hunger. Like I said before, your body doesn't like you to lose body fat because it's a threat to survival, right? And this gets even worse when people try to lose weight, specifically body fat, by dieting alone. Because when you're trying to lose body fat, when you're in a caloric deficit, yes, you will lose fat, but you will also lose lean muscle mass in the process, right? And that's the one that can really trigger this concept of hyperphagia, which is uncontrollable hunger, like you're so hungry all the time, which then makes you consume more calories, right? So that you can regain all the lean mass that you've lost. Essentially, it's just the body's protective mechanism. Again, it goes like this. You lose body fat, you lose a lot of lean mass. The body goes, we don't like this. It's a threat to our survival. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upregulate ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone, right? It's going to be upregulated. Now you find yourself hungrier. You're finding yourself, you're eating a lot more. And before you know it, not only have you gained all the weight that you've lost, you've gained even more body fat, because the body does not stop that kind of appetite dysregulation until it feels safe, until it's regained all the lean mass that is lost. So one of the key things in this journey is number one, being smart about your strategies, because your strategies should aim to, number one, maintain lean mass, because that's one of the ways that you can manage that hunger that's automatically going to come into play. Everybody's going to feel hungry when you're trying to lose weight. That's just the reality of the situation. What we are talking about here is how to manage that hunger to the best of your ability, right? So number one, resistance training. Do not ignore your resistance training. In this group, we've spoken about it 100 times, the importance of resistance training, the importance of retaining lean mass towards metabolic health as we're aging through perimenopause, and all of these things, right? So as an addition, resistance training will help you maintain lean mass, which means it will improve your appetite regulation through this journey, and also increases your chances of keeping the weight off. If you look at people who've been able to kind of maintain their weight, maintain their body composition, they're often the people who consume enough protein, a lot of protein, and they're also the people who are engaged in consistent resistance training programs, right? That structure, that is part of their lives. The second thing that can really mess up your hunger is a lack of sleep. Look, sleep is often the thing that we ignore in this journey, but it is one of the most crucial things that is actually going to impact your hunger, right? When you don't sleep, chances are the later you stay up, the more snacking is going to happen, more calories you're consuming. The later you stay up, the more tired you're going to feel the next day. So there's going to be less movement, you're going to be more tired, your workouts are not going to be as efficient. So these are the behavioral changes that we see. But we also see the impact of lack of sleep on a physiological level, right? Physiological level. metabolic health becomes impaired, right? You're not metabolizing glucose as well as you can, especially those who have things like insulin resistance. You really want to be careful and be mindful about your sleep. We also see in a physiological level less burning happen. The body becomes efficient at burning calories, right? Which ends up mean you just burn less calories overall, right? And the third thing that you see, your hunger hormones become upregulated. The ghrelin hormone that we spoke about, it actually becomes upregulated. And there are studies that were kind of a lot of studies on sleep have happened. One of the ones I'm thinking about is the one where they took the participants, the same participants. It was a crossover study. They took the participants. In one of the times they had 7.5 hours of sleep to 8, I believe, right? And then they had a washout period, and then the next time, the next round, they gave them, I think, 4.5 to 5.5 hours of sleep, and they noticed that when they were having, and again, for a lot of us, 4.5 to 5.5 hours of sleep, that's like the norm, right? Like that's the norm for us. But when they noticed that when they reduced their sleep, they actually, number one, got hungrier the next day. So at a physiological level, not just behavioral level, they got hungrier the next day, and the hunger was usually in the form of snacks. So they snacked a lot more. I think, if I remember correctly, it was about 300 calories extra from the snacking. And another thing that they noticed is an objective measure, is that less burning was happening. The body was burning overall less calories compared to people who are getting enough sleep. And of course, the metabolic considerations that come with that, we become more glucose intolerant and all of these things, right? We are more glucose intolerant in the evenings anyway, but when you're sleeping, that piles up, and then of course it causes metabolic issues. So sleep is literally one of the key things in your weight loss journey. The third thing that I kind of want to talk to you guys about is your portion sizes. The mistake that people make when they're trying to lose weight is they reduce their portion size to really tiny amounts, like really tiny amounts. So if they're having like a full plate of rice, now this person's trying to lose weight. What do? They half the rice and khalas, and that's it. Now, your body's not going to appreciate that, because one of the mechanisms of satiety is the stretching of the stomach, right? So if you're someone who's used, as an example, and I'm going to explain this in a very simplified way, just for understanding, but of course the process is a lot more complicated than that. If you're someone who's used to eating a whole plate of rice, so you have your rice, your stomach is used to, remember, humans are highly adaptable. We are so adaptable. So your stomach is used to stretching a certain amount, right? So you have your plate of rice, your stomach stretches a certain amount, your satiety hormones communicate with the brain saying, hey, okay, this person has stretched enough, we are full up now. Now you feel satiated and khalas, you stop eating. Now, when you start to reduce your portion sizes, you're eating that tiny bit of rice, right? Your stomach has stretched and you've eaten, but you don't feel satiated because it hasn't stretched to a level it is used to stretching. And now, half an hour later, an hour later, you're finding yourself starving, right? All of this to say is, when you're on this journey, it's not just about removing things. What's going to be even more important is adding things, because you want to make sure you stay closely aligned to the volume of the foods that you want to eat. Right? Don't have tiny bits of food. Make sure you add a lot of volume in the foods that you like to eat. And because your goal is losing weight, that volume needs to come from low energy, high nutrient foods. So think about your vegetables and your protein, your lean protein. Think about your salads and stuff like that. This is where you want your volume to come from, because now you're hitting two birds with one stone here. You're killing two birds with one stone. Number one, you're increasing the nutrient density of the food. You're eating healthier and all of these things, right? And number two, you're managing your hunger. And number three, you're able to still eat the rice, but the rice is not the main thing that's going to satiate you. This way you don't have to cut out your rice. Another mistake that I see is people thinking they need to cut this out and cut this out. That is not how it works. You want to be able to still consume the foods that you enjoy, because otherwise you're not sticking to the journey, but be smart about how you eat them. Right? Think about, how can I eat a lot? This is what I always think about. How can I eat a lot of food, right, without having to cut stuff out? And that means, okay, you may want to reduce the portion of rice you have. You may want to maybe not have 2 avocados every day and stuff like that, because yes, even healthy things have calories. This is another big misconception. People think just because something is healthy, you can eat as much as you want. No, that's not how it works, right? So think about, how can I eat more? What kind of things can I add into my meals? That way I can still enjoy my meals, right? But also have them in big amounts so that it satiates me. And your best 2 things that are really going to up the satiety for you is going to be your protein, your lean proteins especially, right? Protein is, we know, is very satiating, especially in like a meal, like within the meal matrix, right? Protein and your greens, your vegetables, your salads and stuff like that. Just don't drown them in olive oil and high calorie dressings and stuff like that. If your goal is to lose weight, your croutons and stuff, like your salad can either be 200 calories or 1,000 calories. It just depends on what you top it up with. So be mindful about that as well, right? So we've spoken about your resistance training being really, really key in managing your appetite, because it's going to help you maintain your lean muscle mass. Number 2, sleep in a physiological level. Behaviorally, not getting enough sleep is really going to impact you, but also in a physiological level as well. We see hunger going up for those people who don't sleep very well, and of course the metabolic challenges that can come with that. And number 3, think about the volume of the food. You want to focus on high volume of foods. The 4th thing is a really important one, especially for those of you who are not tracking. When you're not weighing your food, the only way you're going to have an idea of how many calories you're consuming is by looking at the portion sizes, and you can estimate if you're eating the same things. An example for myself, my meals are pretty standard. It's going to be eggs, it's going to be salad and chicken and lean beef and stuff like that. So I kind of know. I don't weigh my food, so I know how many calories I'm consuming. Right. Well, right now I'm in a recomp phase, so I weigh now, but usually I don't weigh my food. Now, the problem is, if you're not someone who weighs your food, and if you don't eat similar foods all the time, if you have a high food variety, it becomes really, really hard to gauge how many calories you're consuming. Because if you think about it, if you have 5 or 6 things on the plate, each of the plate is going to have its own calorie amounts. If you're eating the same things on the plate every day, 5 or 6 things, if that's consistent for you, that's fine, because you're going to have an idea how much of each thing you're having. The problem comes is if every meal is different, every item on the plate is different almost every day, and because you're not weighing your food, you're not calorie counting in that way, it becomes really hard for you to manage how many calories you're consuming by just looking at the portion size. So all of this to say is, while you are in this fat loss phase, while you're trying to lose weight, reduce the variety of the foods that you're having. Have a pattern. Have a pattern, an eating pattern. Having an eating pattern will really help you manage the amount of calories you're consuming, even if you're not counting calories. I'll give an example for myself, and I'm not saying I'm the best example, but this is just how I eat. I'm not a breakfast person, so for breakfast I'll usually have my tea. I say I'm not a breakfast person, but this tea is about 200 calories. Do you know what I mean? So I'll have a tea and a protein bar, and that's me done. For lunch I'll have maybe 3 or 4 boiled eggs. This is how I like to eat, because my days are busy working, homeschooling, and all of these things. I like my days to be lighter, so I focus more on protein to make sure I hit my protein target, right? So my lunch is going to be another protein. The heaviest meal is my dinner. My dinner is where I kind of go, yes, now I'm relaxed, I'm chilling. This is also a reminder of why eat in a way that you enjoy. Don't let someone tell you, oh, you have to eat at this time and that time and that time. No, you don't. Eat in a way that you enjoy and in a way that you prefer and in a way that is aligned to your goals. Okay, so back to me. So my dinner will almost always be a lean protein on the side, either chicken or prawns or some other kind of fish. I'll have a big salad with it. My salad is usually, I like to have a variety, but a lot of the times it's going to be on the low calorie side, and it's a lot. I have a lot of salad. And then I will have either baked potatoes with it, not always, right? So a lot of the time it doesn't have a lot of carbs on there, because for me personally, my main source of carbohydrates is from fruits. I love my fruits. So I consume about maybe 300 to 400 calories worth of fruits every day. That is about 6 portions of fruits every single day. And that is how I like to eat. That is how I like to get the majority of my carbohydrates, right? So because I know that is my pattern, my eating pattern, if let's say I go out and I'm out of my uniform, right? I know how to easily adjust this pattern to make room for the dinner that I'm going to have without having to micromanage it. Do you know what I mean? So in this phase, try to keep the things that you're eating similar. That way, especially if you're not counting calories. If you're counting calories, then you have more room, of course, because you're going to be weighing and counting and all of that. That's a own separate headache, but you can, right? But if you don't want to count calories, then keep the things that you're eating similar, so that so that if the scale is not moving, you'll know what to adjust and where to tweak. But if you're eating different things every single day and you're not counting calories and the scale is not moving, it's going to be really hard for you to then try and track where you're going wrong, if that makes sense. So reducing the variety of the types of foods that you're having, especially the carbohydrates. This is where we get into trouble. Today is chips, tomorrow is a lot of rice, the other day is biryani, the other day is mandi, the other day is pizza. It's all over the place and becomes really hard to track. You want variety in your fruits and vegetables, but that's fine because these things are low in calories anyway. In fact, you should have variety in your vegetables. Don't just eat the same stuff every day. Explore a little bit. But when it comes to the more calorie dense items, like the processed stuff that you have, the carby stuff that you have, even the fatty stuff that you have, if they're higher in calories, you kind of want to keep the variety at a minimum. Okay, so the 4 things that you really want to keep in mind when you're trying to lose weight that is really going to help manage the journey, right, at a physiological level is: number 1, resistance training. Your body's going to fight you in the process of losing weight because it is a threat to its survival. Okay. Number 2, sleep. Please do not ignore your sleep, right? Number 3, volume. You want big volume of your foods, right? Think about adding stuff in, not only taking stuff out, because your body is used to stretching, your stomach is used to stretching to a certain amount, so you kind of want to maintain that, so you're able to manage the hunger, right? And number 4, reduce the food variety, especially on the high calorie stuff, especially if you're not tracking your calories, if you're not weighing your food, if you're not counting calories, because it's going to be really hard for you to then track and analyze where things may be going wrong if you find the scale not shifting the way that you expect it to, provided you've given yourself enough time to allow it to shift. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear some insights. I'll talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum.